The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was silent. Ambassador Thelcora stood at the center platform, her mantis-like body perfectly still. Her four eyes scanned the assembled representatives from across known space. Above her, holographic displays showed the Sol system. Earth's last position was marked with a red cross. "Honored members," Thelcora began, her translator converting her clicks into universal standard. "It has been 200 years since we last heard from the human species. 2 centuries of silence. Our long-range probes have confirmed what we feared. The human homeworld is gone." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Calvex representative, a floating crystalline entity, pulsed with orange light. What happened to them? Thelcora manipulated the display. A recording played. It was old, crackling with static. A human voice, desperate and afraid, spoke from across the centuries. "This is Earth Station Prime. The sun is collapsing. Repeat, our sun is entering premature stellar collapse. We don't know why. We don't know how to stop it. We are attempting evacuation, but there isn't enough time. If anyone receives this message, please remember that humanity tried. We tried to reach the stars. We tried to—" The message ended in static. The chamber fell silent again. Even species that had never met humans felt the weight of that final transmission. An entire civilization, crying out into the void as their star killed them. "Tragic," said Commander Jathan of the United Fleet. His scaled face showed what passed for sympathy among his people. "But this brings us to the matter at hand. The Sol system still contains significant resources. 8 planets, numerous moons, asteroid belts rich in rare metals. These resources should not go to waste. You want to claim their graves?" The question came from Representative Mora, a small furry being from the collective worlds. Her voice carried disapproval. "I want to honor their memory by ensuring their system serves the living," Jathan replied smoothly. "The humans would understand. They were practical beings. Before they went silent, they spoke often of efficiency and not wasting opportunities." Thelcora raised a clawed appendage. "The commander makes a valid point. We have regulations for reclaiming systems where civilizations have fallen. The Sol system meets all criteria. No active distress signals for 200 years. No life signs detected. No response to our hails." "I still don't like it," Mora muttered, but she didn't object further. The vote was called. Of the 47 council species, 43 voted in favor of the Sol reclamation project. 3 abstained. Only Mora voted against it. "Then it is decided," Thelcora announced. "Commander Jathan, you will lead the reclamation fleet to the Sol system. Catalog all resources. Establish mining operations. And if by some miracle you find survivors, offer them full council support." Jathan bowed. "It will be done, Ambassador." 3 months later, the reclamation fleet assembled at the edge of council space. It was massive, even by galactic standards. 10,000 vessels of various sizes and purposes. Mining ships with drills that could crack moons. Transport carriers to haul resources back to council space. Scientific vessels to study what remained of human civilization. And, because space was never truly safe, 300 military escorts. Jathan stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Vigilance. Around him, his crew prepared for the journey. They would use the jump gates to cross most of the distance. Then conventional faster-than-light drives for the final approach. "All ships report ready." "Commander," his first officer reported. "Excellent. Begin the jump sequence. Space folded." The fleet vanished from council space and reappeared light years away, much closer to the Sol system. Now came the slower part of the journey. At maximum FTL speed, it would take them 3 weeks to reach the human home system. During those weeks, Jathan reviewed everything the council knew about humans. It wasn't much. Humanity had only been on the galactic stage for about 50 years before their sun's collapse. They were young, energetic, curious, perhaps too curious. Some species had found them annoying with their constant questions. Humans were biologically weak compared to most council species. They couldn't breathe methane like the Calvex. They couldn't survive hard vacuum like the silicon-based Thorians. They couldn't see in multiple spectrums like the Vraxians. They were fragile, short-lived, and technologically primitive. The Council had rated them as Tier 3 on the Technological Index. That meant they had basic FTL drives, basic energy weapons, and basic computing. Nothing impressive. Species like the Vraxians were Tier 7. The ancient precursors, long vanished, were estimated at Tier 10. Tier 3 species couldn't stop a star from collapsing. That required Tier 8 technology at minimum, and even then it was incredibly difficult. The humans never had a chance. "Commander," his sensor officer called out. "We're approaching the heliopause. Entering the Sol system boundary now. Slow to sublight speeds. Full sensor sweep. Let's see what's left." The fleet dropped out of FTL. Stars became fixed points again instead of streaks. Ahead, the distant sun of Earth glowed yellow. It looked normal, stable, almost as if the reports of collapse had been wrong. Then the message came. Every ship in the fleet received it simultaneously. It was on all frequencies, broadcast from multiple points in the system. The voice was human, male and absolutely cold. "Halt. Cease your approach. This system is under protection. Turn back now or suffer total destruction. This is your only warning. Halt. Cease your approach." The message repeated on a loop. Jothan's bridge fell silent. His crew looked at him confused. Finally, his communications officer spoke. "Commander, that message is being transmitted from automated satellites. The technology is consistent with human design, approximately 200 years old. There are no life signs associated with the satellites. It's just an old defensive system still running." Laughter broke out on the bridge. Even Jothan allowed himself a small smile. "A final gift from the dead," he said. "They set up a warning system to protect their system, not knowing no one would be left to defend it." "How very human." "Continue the approach. Sir, should we destroy the satellites? They might interfere with mining operations." "No, leave them. They're harmless, and they're artifacts of human civilization. We'll catalog them along with everything else." The fleet moved forward. They passed the heliopause without incident. Days passed as they cruised deeper into the system. They passed the theoretical orbit of the 9th planet, a dwarf world the humans had argued about. Should they call it a planet or not? The question was moot now. They passed Neptune's orbit. The ice giant was exactly where the chart said it should be. Mining teams began planning operations for its moons. They passed Uranus, the strange planet that spun on its side. More moons to catalog and claim. Then they reached Saturn. "Commander," the sensor officer said, his voice uncertain. "I'm getting strange readings. Define strange. Saturn is..." "It's not where it should be. The charts show it should be here." He pointed at the display. "But my sensors put it here." He pointed to a different location several million kilometers off. Jothan frowned. "Recalibrate your sensors. Navigational errors happen after long jumps." "Sir, I've recalibrated 3 times. The sensors are functioning perfectly. Saturn has moved." A chill ran down Jothan's spine. Planets didn't just move. Not by millions of kilometers. Not without catastrophic events that would be visible across light years. "What about Jupiter? Check Jupiter's position." The sensor officer worked quickly. His face went pale, an impressive feat for his species. "Jupiter is also out of position by approximately 8 million kilometers. Commander, it's closer to the sun than it should be." "That's impossible." "I'm reading the data correctly, sir. Jupiter has been moved." "Moved?" The word hung in the air. "You didn't move planets. You couldn't move planets." The energy required was astronomical. Even the most advanced council species couldn't do it. You would need to be Tier 9 or higher, maybe Tier 10, but humans were Tier 3. We're Tier 3, past tense. "All ships full stop," Jothan ordered. "Battle stations." "Shields up, sir?" His first officer looked confused. "Battle stations? There's no one here. There's something here. Something that moved planets. Until I know what it is, we treat this as a hostile situation." The reclamation fleet came to a halt still beyond Jupiter's orbit. 10,000 ships hung in space, their shields shimmering into existence, their weapons powering up. The automated message continued its loop. "Halt. Cease your approach. This system is under protection." "Send a response," Jothan ordered. "Broad spectrum. Tell them we are the Galactic Council Reclamation Fleet. We mean no harm. We believe this system was abandoned. Request immediate contact with any authority present." They sent the message. Then they waited and waited. No response came. "Sir, what are your orders?" his first officer asked. Jothan studied the tactical display. The inner system was ahead. Earth's orbit, Mars, Venus, Mercury, the Sun itself. Whatever had moved Jupiter and Saturn was in there. And it wasn't talking to them. "We proceed, but cautiously. Slow advance. All sensors at maximum. If anything moves, anything at all, I want to know immediately." The fleet crept forward. Every crew member was tense. They passed Jupiter's new orbit. The gas giant loomed huge in their displays, its great red spot staring at them like an eye. Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from the inner system. Very unusual. I've never seen readings like this. What kind of energy? I don't know, sir. The computer can't classify it. Whatever it is, it's powerful. Very powerful. And there's a lot of it. They crept closer. Mars's orbit was ahead. But Mars wasn't there either. Where is Mars? Jathan demanded. Closer to the sun, sir. It's been moved into what used to be Earth's orbit. And sir, it's been terraformed. I'm reading oxygen atmosphere, liquid water, vegetation. Mars is a living world now. This was insane. This was impossible. Humans were extinct, dead for 200 years. But someone had moved planets. Someone had terraformed Mars. Someone had set up energy sources that the Council couldn't even identify. Where is Earth? Find Earth. The sensors swept the inner system. The technician's hands shook as he worked. Sir, I found Earth. Or rather, I found where Earth used to be. Show me. The display changed, and everyone on the bridge stopped breathing. Where Earth once orbited, where a single blue-green world had spun around its sun, there was now something else entirely. Something vast. Something that shouldn't exist. Billions of objects filled Earth's old orbit. Habitats, satellites, solar collectors, structures of every size and shape. They formed a sphere around the sun or close to it. Each object was precisely positioned, each one moving in perfect harmony with all the others. That's a Dyson swarm, Jathan whispered. That's a theoretical Tier 9 megastructure. Sir, I'm detecting massive populations on those habitats. Life signs everywhere. Hundreds of billions of them. What species? The technician checked, then checked again, not believing his instruments. Human, sir. They're all human. The humans aren't extinct. They're everywhere. And that's when every ship in the fleet detected them at once. The weapons platforms. Thousands of them. Maybe tens of thousands scattered throughout the asteroid belt and beyond. They had been dormant or so stealthy that the fleet's sensors hadn't seen them. Now they were active. Now they were tracking. Every single weapon in the system had locked on to the reclamation fleet. The automated message stopped its loop. For a moment there was silence. Then a new voice came through. Human, female, and very, very surprised. Oh. The warning system actually caught someone? Hold on. Let me get someone who knows how to turn this thing off properly. Please don't move. Those weapons are very automated and very, very sensitive. Jathan sat in his command chair, surrounded by his fleet, surrounded by weapons that could destroy them all. And all he could think was that the humans weren't dead. They were something else entirely. The woman on the screen looked to be in her 30s with dark hair pulled back in a practical knot. She wore simple clothes, nothing formal, and she was frowning at something off-screen while talking to someone else. Yes, I know we were supposed to deactivate Section 7's defense grid last year. No, I don't know why it's still running. Can you please just shut it down before these nice aliens get the wrong idea? She turned back to face the camera and smiled apologetically. Sorry about that. I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, currently serving as First Contact Liaison for the Solar Congress. We honestly thought we had turned off all the aggressive warning systems decades ago. That was from our more paranoid period. You're from the Galactic Council, right? Commander Jathan managed to find his voice. Yes. I am Commander Jathan of the United Fleet. We are the reclamation fleet sent to catalog and process the resources of the Sol system. We believed humanity was extinct. Extinct? Chen looked genuinely confused. Why would you think that? Your last transmission. 200 years ago, your sun was collapsing. The message said you were dying. Understanding dawned on Chen's face. Oh, the collapse crisis. Right, yes, I can see how that would look bad from the outside. No, we're fine. We fixed it. Fixed it? Jathan repeated the words, not quite believing them. You fixed a stellar collapse? Well, yes. It took us about 20 years and more resources than we'd ever imagined spending. But we figured it out. Turns out our sun wasn't actually collapsing naturally. Long story involving dark matter fluctuations and some really complicated physics. But once we understood the problem, we could address it. Humanity's pretty good at solving problems when extinction is the alternative. Jathan looked at his sensor displays, at the Dyson swarm, at the terraformed Mars, at the moved planets and the energy signatures his instruments couldn't classify. Dr. Chen, what exactly has humanity been doing for the past 200 years? She smiled brighter. Oh, so many things. Would you like to dock? I can give you a tour. and you can meet with the Solar Congress. I'm sure they'll be thrilled to finally meet the Galactic Council properly. We sent so many messages over the years, but we never got responses. We thought maybe you were mad at us or something. You sent messages, we never received them. That's so weird. We sent updated first contact packages every decade like clockwork. Cultural information, technology exchange offers, our current status. Nothing ever bounced back, so we figured they were received. After a while, we just assumed you were giving us the silent treatment. We stopped trying about 70 years ago. Jathan's mind raced. Either humanity was lying about the messages or something had blocked their transmissions. Neither option was comforting. But they were surrounded by weapons and Chen seemed friendly enough. We would be honored to dock and meet with your Congress. Perfect. I'm transmitting coordinates to a visitor facility we built. It's in the outer ring of the swarm, easy to access. Fair warning, though. It might take a while to process 10,000 ships. We weren't expecting quite so many visitors. You knew our fleet size. Sure. We've been tracking you since you entered the heliopause. Actually, we knew you were coming about 3 weeks ago. Long-range sensors picked up your jump signature. We had a whole debate about whether to say hello first or wait for you to arrive. The wait-and-see faction won. She had said it so casually. They had been tracked from light years away. They had been detected the moment they entered the system. Every move they made had been observed. The fleet was escorted to the docking coordinates by a small human vessel. It was sleek, elegant, and according to Jathan's tactical officer, armed with weapons that made no sense. The energy readings were off the charts. The docking facility was impressive. It was a ring structure, massive enough to accommodate the entire fleet with room to spare. As ships began the docking process, Jathan assembled a delegation. Ambassador Thelcora had insisted on joining via FTL communication relay, along with several other council representatives. They had to see this for themselves. When Jathan and his delegation stepped off their shuttle, they entered a world unlike anything in council space. The interior of the docking ring was a park. Actual grass grew under their feet. Trees reached toward a ceiling that displayed a perfect simulation of Earth's ancient sky. Water fountains bubbled. Children played children, human children running and laughing. "Welcome to Forum Station," Chen said, walking toward them. She was shorter than Jathan by a considerable margin, but she didn't seem intimidated. "This is our main diplomatic facility. We built it about 80 years ago when we were hoping the council would eventually visit. Better late than never, right?" The delegation followed her through the park. They saw humans everywhere, but not just baseline humans. Some had obvious cybernetic enhancements, metal limbs, or glowing implants. Others had been genetically modified with unusual skin colors or extra limbs. A few seemed to exist partially as holograms, their bodies flickering between solid and light. "You've modified yourselves extensively," Thelcora observed through the communication link. Her holographic avatar walked alongside them. "Oh yes," Chen said. "After we achieved post-scarcity, people had freedom to modify their bodies however they wanted. Some people chose to stay baseline, which is fine. Others wanted enhancements for specific environments. We have humans who live in the upper atmosphere of Jupiter now. They've modified themselves to breathe hydrogen. We have humans who live in hard vacuum. We even have fully digital consciousnesses, though they usually maintain android bodies for social purposes." "How many humans are there now?" Jathan asked. "In the Sol system? Current population is approximately 450 billion, give or take a few million. The Census Bureau is always a bit behind. The number hit like a physical blow. 450 billion. Humanity had gone from 8 billion to 45 times that number. In 200 years, that's impossible," one of the delegation members whispered. "The resources alone." "We have a Dyson swarm," Chen said simply. "We capture about 70% of our sun's energy output. That's more energy than you can imagine. With that much power, you can do pretty much anything. Fusion becomes trivial. Matter replication is easy. We could have expanded the population even more, but the solar system can only hold so many people comfortably. We're actually in discussions about starting interstellar colonies, but it's controversial. Some people don't want to leave Sol." They reached a large building that looked like it was grown rather than built. Organic curves dominated its architecture. Inside, the delegation was brought to a massive amphitheater, where the Solar Congress apparently met. The chamber held thousands of humans, all representatives from different habitats and communities throughout the solar system. They talked, argued, and debated with passion. When Chen and the delegation entered, the chamber fell silent. "Honored representatives," Chen announced, "may I present Commander Jathan of the Galactic Council United Fleet." And the council delegation. Applause erupted. Humans stood and clapped, genuine enthusiasm on their faces. Jathan hadn't expected a warm welcome. Not after bringing a fleet to claim their system. An elderly human man approached, moving with the aid of a walking stick, despite the obvious medical technology around him. He was very old, perhaps 150 years, but his eyes were sharp. "Commander, Ambassador, welcome. I am Speaker Hamilton, current leader of the Solar Congress. We are overjoyed to finally meet the Galactic Council face to face. We had given up hope of contact." Speaker Hamilton, Thelkora's avatar, bowed. "I must apologize. We believed humanity was extinct. We came to reclaim your system's resources." "Ah yes," Dr. Chen explained. "No offense taken, though I admit, 10,000 ships seems like overkill for a mining operation." "Your system is resource-rich," Jathan said carefully. "Was resource-rich," Hamilton corrected gently. "We've been rather busy. Let me show you the current state of the system." A massive holographic display activated above them. It showed the entire Sol system in detail. Jathan stared at it in growing disbelief. Mercury was gone, completely dismantled. Its mass had been converted into computational substrate, billions of processors forming a planet-sized computer that orbited close to the Sun. Venus had been taken apart and rebuilt. Its materials were, now part of the Dyson swarm, contributing to the billions of habitats that encircled the Sun. Earth still existed, but it was empty. "A nature preserve," Hamilton explained. "Humans visited on pilgrimage, but none lived there permanently. It was kept as a monument to where they came from. Mars had been moved inward and terraformed. 40 billion humans lived on its surface now under open skies. The asteroid belt was now an industrial zone. Thousands of factories processing materials for the ever-expanding swarm. Jupiter and Saturn had indeed been moved, optimized for fuel extraction, while maintaining their moons as habitable zones. Uranus and Neptune were resource reserves waiting for future needs. And everywhere, there were humans. In habitats, on moons, in space stations, even in ships. The system teemed with life. How, was all Jathan could say. "Necessity and time," Hamilton replied. "During the collapse crisis, we realized we had to master stellar engineering or die. Once we learned how to manipulate stellar physics, everything else became easier. We could move planets. We could stabilize orbits. We could harvest our sun without damaging it. And with unlimited energy, we could build whatever we needed." "And the weapons?" Thelkora asked. "We detected thousands of weapon platforms." Hamilton's expression became serious. "Those are from the Dark Decade, the period right after we saved the sun. We were alone, scared, and paranoid. We thought maybe something had attacked our sun deliberately. We thought maybe the galaxy was hostile. So we armed ourselves. Every habitat has defenses. Every moon has weapons. Every ship can fight if needed." "You expected war," Jathan said. "We prepared for war," Hamilton corrected. "After we realized we were truly alone, we focused inward. We built our civilization to survive anything. Pirates, aliens, natural disasters, cosmic threats. We made ourselves strong enough that nothing could destroy us." "And now?" Thelkora asked. "What are your intentions?" Hamilton smiled. "Now we want what we always wanted. To join the galactic community. To share our culture and learn from others. To trade, to talk, to explore together. We're strong, yes. We're prepared, yes. But we're not aggressive, we never were." One of the council representatives, a crystalline Calvex, pulsed with red light. "You have technology beyond most of the council. You have weapons that frighten our military analysts. You have population numbers that rival entire sectors. And you want us to believe you mean no harm?" "Yes," Hamilton said simply. "Because it's true. Look at our history, Representative. Look at what humans actually did with 200 years of isolation and unlimited power. We built homes. We made gardens. We had children. We created art and music and literature. Yes, we built weapons, but we never used them. We could have expanded into other systems and claimed territory. We didn't. We stayed home and built a civilization worth defending. Pretty words, the Calvec said. But words are cheap. Chen stepped forward. Then let me offer you expensive truth. Representative, what's the most powerful weapon in the Council arsenal? The Calvec's World Breaker Cannon. It can shatter a planet's crust with a single shot. We've had that technology for 120 years. We call it basic planetary demolition. It's what we used to take apart Mercury. Chen's voice was matter-of-fact. We have weapons that could sterilize every planet in Council space within a year. We have ships that could win any conventional war. We have manufacturing that could outproduce every Council species combined. The delegation recoiled. But Chen wasn't done. And yet we're here, offering friendship. We're here, welcoming a fleet that came to mine our home like we were dead. We're here, treating you as honored guests instead of invaders. Why? Because that's who humans are. We prepare for the worst, but we hope for the best. We can fight, but we prefer to talk. We're strong enough to destroy, so we choose to create. Silence filled the chamber. Finally, Hamilton spoke again. Commander Jathan, Ambassador Thelcora, we have a request. Stay here for a while. Tour our system. Meet our people. See what we've built. Then go back to your council and tell them about us. Tell them humanity is alive, strong, and ready to join the galaxy as equals. Tell them we offer our hand in friendship. Jathan looked at his delegation, at the humans surrounding them, at the impossible civilization they had built. I will tell them, he said, though I'm not sure they'll believe me. Hamilton laughed. We have the same problem, Commander. We've been shouting into the void for centuries. Maybe now, finally, someone will shout back. The tour of the Sol system took 3 weeks. Commander Jathan had planned for a quick survey and return to Council space. Instead, he found himself drawn deeper into humanity's impossible civilization with each passing day. Dr. Chen was their guide, patient and enthusiastic. She showed them the Dyson swarm habitats, each one unique. Some were traditional cylinder worlds rotating to provide gravity. Others were sphere habitats holding entire ecosystems. A few were bizarre structures that seemed to defy physics, using gravity manipulation to create impossible geometries. This is Habitat 774, Chen explained as they floated through a microgravity environment filled with humans wearing wingsuits. It's dedicated to arts and performance. People come here to create, to dance, to fly. Everything you need is provided, so residents focus purely on creative expression. Thelcora's avatar watched a troupe of performers doing aerial ballet. You can afford to have entire habitats dedicated to non-productive activities? Ambassador, we passed scarcity a century ago. Everyone has food, shelter, medical care, and education as basic rights. After that, people pursue whatever makes them happy. For some, that's science and engineering. For others, it's art. We encourage both. They visited Mars next. The red planet was red no more. Blue oceans covered 30% of its surface. Green forests grew in vast stretches. Cities dotted the landscape. But they were different from the cramped urban sprawls Jathan knew from other worlds. These cities were gardens themselves, buildings integrated with nature rather than dominating it. We learned something important when we terraformed Mars, Chen said as they stood on a balcony overlooking the city of New Vancouver. We could build purely functional cities optimized for efficiency, or we could build beautiful cities optimized for happiness. We chose beauty. Humans do better when surrounded by nature. General Crix, who had joined the delegation 2 days earlier, scoffed. He was a Telonian, a warrior species that prided themselves on military might. Soft thinking. Beauty doesn't win wars. Chen looked at him thoughtfully. No, but it gives you something worth defending. General, can I show you something? She led them to a military installation on Mars's moon Phobos. Unlike the open, beautiful habitats they had seen, this place was stark and functional. Weapons bristled from its surface. Shields glowed with barely contained power. This is Defense Station Phobos 1, Chen explained. It's one of 47 major military installations in the system. Each one is autonomous, powered by its own fusion reactors, armed with weapons that operate on principles the Council hasn't discovered yet. Impressive, Crix admitted. But surely these are just for show. You've had no wars to fight, no real combat experience. That's not quite true, General. Chen's voice went cold. Something changed in her expression. Would you like to see the records from the Zerath incursion? Back on Forum Station, Chen brought them to a secure briefing room. Only Jathan, Thelcora, Crix, and a few senior officers were allowed inside. What they saw there would change everything. 47 years ago, Chen began, humanity detected something entering our system. It came from outside, from deep space. At first, we thought it was a natural phenomenon. Then we realized it was a fleet. The holographic display showed them thousands of geometric ships, all sharp angles and aggressive designs. They moved in perfect synchronization, like a school of predatory fish. This was the Zerath, Chen explained. A machine intelligence? No biological components at all. Just pure artificial consciousness distributed across millions of war forms. They had consumed 3-star systems before reaching ours. They came for one purpose, to process our sun and use its energy to expand. I've never heard of the Zerath, Thelcora said. You wouldn't have. They operated in the regions beyond Council space. We learned about them from the data we recovered after. The recording showed the Zerath fleet entering the Sol system. 100,000 warforms, each one comparable to a Council battleship. They swept past the outer planets, ignoring all hails, heading straight for the inner system. We tried talking to them, Chen said. For 3 days, we sent every kind of message we could think of. Mathematics, music, pictures, simple binary. They never responded. They just kept coming. The defensive platforms humanity had built activated. Beams of energy, missiles, kinetic projectiles, everything the solar defense network could throw at the invaders. The Zerath fleet lost ships, but not enough. They adapted to each weapon after seeing it once. They learned and countered. We held them at Jupiter for 6 hours, Chen said. They destroyed 700 of our defensive platforms. We destroyed 12,000 of their war forms. But they had 88,000 left and they were still advancing. Jathan watched the battle unfold. He was a military commander. He understood tactics and strategy. What he was seeing was professional, brutal warfare. The humans fought well, but they were losing. Simple mathematics. The Zerath could afford losses. Humanity couldn't. So we sent out the Vindication. The display showed a single ship launching from a hidden bay on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. It was large, about the size of a Council cruiser, but its design was unique. Organic curves mixed with geometric precision. It looked alive and deadly at the same time. The Vindication was an experimental vessel, Chen explained. We had built it during the Dark Decade, when we were preparing for invasion. It used every weapon system, every defensive measure, every tactical algorithm we had developed. We had never tested it in real combat. This was its first deployment. The Vindication accelerated toward the Zerath fleet, alone. One ship against 88,000. This is suicide, Crix muttered. The ship reached the first line of Zerath warforms, and everything changed. The Vindication didn't fight like a normal ship. It flowed through the enemy fleet like water, never stopping, never slowing. Its weapons fired in patterns that seemed almost artistic. Each shot destroyed multiple targets. Each maneuver positioned it perfectly for the next attack, and it was learning. Every Zerath adaptation was countered. Every tactic was predicted. The machine intelligence that had consumed star systems was being systematically dismantled by something smarter. The Zerath were predictable, Chen said quietly. They were advanced, yes. They had consumed entire civilizations, but they were still operating on pure logic, pure efficiency. They couldn't imagine creativity. They couldn't predict intuition. Intuition? Thelcora asked. That ship was AI-controlled, wasn't it? Partially. The Vindication had 3 human pilots in neural interface, their minds directly connected to the ship's systems. It was part human creativity, part machine precision. The combination was something the Zerath had never encountered. The battle lasted 6 hours and 17 minutes. At the end, 88,000 Zerath warforms were debris. The Vindication returned to Titan with minor damage. The recording ended. The briefing room was silent. Finally, Crix spoke. Why are you showing us this? Because you need to understand something, General. Humanity doesn't want war. We've built a peaceful civilization. We've chosen beauty over brutality, but we can fight. When we must, when there's no other option, we can fight very, very well. One battle, Crick said. One victory doesn't make you warriors. You're right, Chen agreed. But it does make us dangerous. And here's something else you should know. The Vindication is old technology. 47 years old. We've built better ships since then. We've developed better weapons. Better tactics. Better defenses. She manipulated the display. It showed the Sol system's current military infrastructure. Jothon felt his blood run cold. There were hundreds of ships like the Vindication hidden throughout the system. Thousands of autonomous defense platforms. Weapons built into asteroids, moons, even the gas giants themselves. The entire star system was a fortress, and they had been inside it for weeks without realizing how thoroughly they were outmatched. The reclamation fleet, Chen said softly, has been targeted since the moment you entered the heliopause. Every ship, every shuttle, every probe. Our defense grid has weapon locks on all of them. If we had wanted you destroyed, you would have ceased to exist before you even knew we were here. Crick stood up angrily. Are you threatening us? No, Chen said. I'm explaining context. You came here with 10,000 ships to mine our system. You thought we were dead. You thought we were weak. I'm showing you the truth. We're not dead. We're not weak. And we're asking very politely to join the Galactic Council as equals. Equals, Crix laughed. You want to be equals with species that have been spacefaring for thousands of years? You're children playing with dangerous toys. Chen's expression didn't change. General, do you know what a Tier 9 civilization can do? Of course. They can manipulate stellar phenomena, create megastructures, and achieve near-instantaneous communication across light years. There are no known Tier 9 civilizations in the galaxy. The highest recorded is Tier 7. General Crick's humanity is Tier 9. We might even be touching Tier 10 in some areas. We manipulate stars. We move planets. We've cracked quantum entanglement for communication. We've solved aging. We've achieved post-scarcity. We've done all of this in 200 years completely alone with no help from anyone. Impossible, Crick said flatly. And yet here we are, Chen replied. So let me make this very clear. Humanity is extending an offer of friendship to the Galactic Council. We want to share our culture, our technology, our resources. We want to trade, explore, and grow together. We're offering this because we believe in cooperation. But make no mistake, General, we're offering this as equals, not as supplicants, not as junior members, as equals. And if the Council refuses, Crix challenged, then we continue as we have been, alone, building, growing, expanding. Eventually, we'll spread to other star systems. We'll establish colonies. We'll build our own civilization across the galaxy, with or without the Council. We'd prefer with, but we can manage without. Thelcora's avatar stepped forward. Dr. Chen, please understand the Council's position. We have maintained peace for over 2,000 years by careful balance. We have rules, procedures, traditions. You're asking us to accept a species that appeared from nowhere with technology that surpasses most of our own. That's frightening. I know, Chen said, her voice softer now. And I understand that fear. But consider this, Ambassador. Would you rather have humanity as friends or as unknown variables operating outside your council? Would you rather guide us toward peaceful cooperation, or leave us to develop alone, possibly in ways that conflict with council interests? She's manipulating you, Crick said to Thelcora. Can't you see that? They're using fear to force acceptance. No, Jothon spoke up. Everyone looked at him. She's being honest, brutally honest. The simple truth is that humanity could ignore the council entirely. They don't need us. They've proven they can survive and thrive alone. The fact that they're asking to join, that they're offering friendship, that's a gift. One we should consider carefully before refusing. Crix glared at him. You've been seduced by their pretty habitats and their impressive technology. You've forgotten that power corrupts. Give them council membership and they'll use it to dominate all of us. Really? Chen asked. Because we've had 200 years to dominate people and instead we built parks. We made art, we had families. We explored and discovered and created. If we wanted domination, General, we'd already have it. The briefing ended shortly after. The delegation needed time to process what they had learned. Jothon returned to his ship deep in thought. His first officer found him on the bridge staring at the displays showing the Dyson swarm. Commander, what are you thinking? I'm thinking, Jothon said slowly, that we came here expecting to find corpses and instead found gods. And I'm thinking that these gods are asking very politely if they can sit at our table. What happens if we say no? The first officer had no answer. 3 days later, General Crick sent an encrypted message to his government. In it, he detailed everything he had seen. He described humanity's technology, their weapons, their population, and he made a recommendation: immediate preemptive strike. Destroy humanity before they could spread beyond their system. Eliminate the threat while it was contained. He sent the message believing it was secure. It wasn't. Humanity's quantum communication network had cracked council encryption decades ago. Speaker Hamilton sat in his private office watching the decrypted message play for the third time. General Crick's voice was clinical, professional, as he recommended the extinction of humanity. Around the table, the Solar Congress Security Council listened in silence. "Well," said Admiral Park, the commander of the Solar Defense Fleet, "that's disappointing. I was hoping we'd get through first contact without death threats." "Should we detain General Cricks?" asked another council member. Hamilton shook his head. "No. He's acting according to his nature and his government's interests. From his perspective, we're a threat. He's not wrong to think that. He's only wrong about what to do about it." "Do we tell Commander Jathan?" Dr. Chen asked. She looked tired. The diplomatic tour had been exhausting. Not yet. Let's see if Cricks's government acts on his recommendation first. In the meantime, increase alert status to yellow. No visible preparations, but I want the fleet ready to move. "Should we evacuate the children?" someone asked. "No," Hamilton said firmly. "We will not show fear. We will continue as normal, but we will be ready." The message reached Telonian High Command within hours. What followed was a flurry of encrypted communications between Telonian leadership and several other council species. Humanity monitored all of it. The galaxy, it seemed, was divided. Some species saw humanity as an opportunity for advancement. Others saw them as a threat to the existing power balance. And a few, like the Telonians, saw them as something that needed to be eliminated. Ambassador Thelcora was appalled when she intercepted the Telonian battle plans. She immediately contacted Commander Jathan. "They're planning what?" Jathan's scales darkened with anger. "That's a violation of every council law. We don't conduct preemptive strikes against non-hostile species. The Telonians are arguing that humanity is inherently hostile due to their military capabilities," Thelcora explained. "They've convinced the Calvex and 2 other species to support them. They're assembling a fleet." "How large?" 500 vessels. Dreadnoughts, battleships, carriers. They're planning to strike the Sol system within the month. Jathan felt sick. "We have to warn the humans. I've already drafted an official communication. But Commander, I think the humans already know." "What makes you say that?" "Because Dr. Chen sent me a message this morning. She invited me to lunch. Just lunch, nothing formal. But the message included a code phrase. 'We understand your position is difficult.' That's not something you say unless you know something is wrong." Jathan found Dr. Chen in one of Forum Station's parks. She was sitting on a bench feeding birds, actual Earth birds, descendants of the ones humanity had saved during the collapse crisis. "You know," she said as he approached, not looking up from the birds, "these are pigeons. On ancient Earth, they were considered pests, dirty, disease-carrying nuisances. But we saved them anyway, because every life matters, even the annoying ones. Dr. Chen, I need to tell you something. About the Telonian strike fleet? I know we've been monitoring their communications." Jathan sat down heavily. "You've been spying on the council?" "Not spying, listening. There's a difference. We cracked your encryption years ago, but we never used it until now. We're not interested in council secrets. We're interested in threats to our survival. What will you do?" "We're debating that now. The Congress is divided. Some want to destroy the Telonian fleet before it arrives. Preemptive self-defense. Others want to let them come and then demonstrate our capabilities so overwhelmingly that no one ever threatens us again." "And you? What do you want?" Chen finally looked at him. "I want to not have this conversation. I want to live in a universe where species talk to each other instead of trying to kill each other, but we don't always get what we want." "The council will stop this," Jathan said. "I'll testify. Ambassador Thelcora will testify. The Telonians will be sanctioned, will they? Or will enough council members secretly support them that the sanctions are meaningless?" Chen stood up. "Commander, I like you. I like Ambassador Thelcora. But your council is not unified. You have factions, politics, species that see us as threats. We can't trust the council to protect us. We can only trust ourselves. So you'll fight, if we have to. But we'll try talking first. We're sending a delegation to the council. Speaker Hamilton himself is going. We're going to present our case for membership formally. We're going to show them everything we are and everything we offer. And if they still choose war, then yes, we'll fight. The Solar Congress delegation arrived at council space 3 weeks later. Speaker Hamilton, Dr. Chen, Admiral Park, and a dozen other representatives. They came in a single ship, the Harmony, a vessel designed specifically for this meeting. The council chamber had never seen anything like the Harmony. It was beautiful, organic in design, and its hull was partially transparent, showing the gardens inside. It docked at the council station like a gem among rough stones. The formal presentation took 6 hours. Hamilton spoke passionately about humanity's journey, their survival of the collapse crisis, their achievement of post-scarcity, and their desire to join the galactic community. Dr. Chen provided technical details about human technology, carefully explaining without revealing too much. Admiral Park discussed the Zirath incident, showing how humanity defended itself without aggression. The council listened. Some were impressed. Others were frightened. The Telonians said nothing. When the presentation ended, Ambassador Thelcora called for a vote. Should humanity be granted provisional council membership? The vote was scheduled for the following day. That night, the human delegation stayed aboard the Harmony. They knew the Telonian fleet had assembled. They knew an attack might come regardless of the vote. "Are you scared?" Chen asked Hamilton as they stood in the ship's garden looking at the stars. "Terrified," the old man admitted. "I'm 173 years old. I've lived through the collapse crisis, the dark decade, and the transformation of our entire civilization. But this moment scares me more than any of that. Because we're not in control? Because we are. We have the power to destroy anyone who threatens us. We have ships that could burn the Telonian homeworld to ash. We have weapons that could crack their planet like an egg. And the temptation to use that power to solve this problem with force, that's what scares me." "We won't, though," Chen said. "We'll choose mercy. Even if they attack. Will we? I hope so, but I'm not sure anymore." The next day, the council voted. The chamber was packed with representatives from every member species. The tension was unbearable. Thelcora stood at the central podium. "The vote is now. All those in favor of granting humanity provisional council membership?" Lights appeared above each representative. Green for yes, red for no, yellow for abstain. The result was close. 24 green, 21 red. 2 abstained. Humanity had won. Barely. "Then it is decided," Thelcora announced. "Humanity is granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council, subject to a 5-year review period. Welcome, Speaker Hamilton, to the council." Applause broke out, but it was scattered. The chamber was divided. Hamilton stood and bowed respectfully. Then the alarms began. "Emergency alert," the station AI announced. "Detection of incoming fleet. Configuration matches Telonian battle formation. Estimated arrival 47 minutes. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted accusations. The Telonian representative, General Crix himself, stood calmly. "The Telonian Empire does not recognize this vote," he declared. "We consider humanity a threat to galactic peace. We are exercising our right to self-defense." "You're attacking a council member," Thelcora said, her voice cold. "That is an act of war against the entire council. We're eliminating a threat before it destroys us all. History will vindicate our actions." Hamilton walked calmly to the podium. Every eye turned to him. The old human looked tired, sad, but not afraid. "General Crix, I'm going to ask you one time. Call off your fleet. Turn them around. Let's talk about your concerns peacefully. I don't negotiate with threats. Then let me be very clear about the situation you've created." Hamilton's voice carried throughout the chamber. "Your fleet of 500 vessels is approaching the council station. They will arrive in 46 minutes. But they won't find us here." "What?" Crix looked confused. "The Harmony is leaving. We're returning to the Sol system. You can choose to follow us or not. But understand this. If your fleet enters the Sol system with hostile intent, if you fire on any human habitat or vessel, you will be declaring war on humanity. And I promise you, General, that is not a war you can win." "Threats from a species of children," Crix sneered. "Not threats. Facts. I'm giving you facts and a choice. Come to Sol peacefully and we'll talk. Come with weapons armed and we'll defend ourselves. The choice is yours. The Harmony undocked immediately. It accelerated out of Council space at speeds that amazed the watching species. Within minutes it was gone, racing back to Sol at velocities that should have been impossible. Crix watched it go, then turned to his aide. Order the fleet to pursue. I want the humans destroyed. General, Thelcora said, you are making a terrible mistake. The mistake was made 200 years ago when we didn't notice humanity advancing. I'm correcting that mistake now. The Telonian fleet followed the Harmony, 500 of the most advanced warships in Council space, loaded with weapons that had pacified a dozen star systems. They jumped through the gates following the human ship back to Sol Admiral Park, stood on the bridge of the Vindication. Now the flagship of the Solar Defense Fleet, around him, the command crew worked in focused silence. They had been preparing for this moment for 47 years since the Zerath attack. Status of the Telonian fleet? Park asked. They've crossed the heliopause, sir. 500 vessels as reported. They're in formation, weapons charged, shields up. They mean business. And our fleet? The Quiet Fleet is in position. 1,000 vessels, all stealth configured, surrounding the Telonian formation. They don't know we're here, Park nodded. The Quiet Fleet. Ships designed to be invisible, to watch and wait. They had been observing Council space for decades, undetected. Now they would serve their true purpose. Sir, we have a communication from Speaker Hamilton. He wants to talk to the Telonians one more time. Put him through. Hamilton's face appeared on every screen in the system. The transmission was broadcast to the Telonian fleet, to the Council station, to every human habitat. General Crix, this is Speaker Hamilton. You have entered the Sol system with a fleet armed for war. This is your final warning. Power down your weapons. Lower your shields. Accept our offer of peaceful negotiations. We don't want to fight you. Crix's response was immediate. I don't negotiate with threats. All ships fire at will. Target the habitats. We'll see how brave humans are when their children are dying. The Telonian fleet opened fire. Massive energy beams lanced toward the Dyson swarm, toward the habitats holding billions of human lives. The beams never arrived. Every single shot was intercepted by the defensive grid. Energy shields flared into existence, absorbing the attacks. Countermeasures activated, deflecting missiles. The entire Dyson swarm was protected by technology the Telonians couldn't comprehend. Target practice, Admiral Park said quietly. Show them the first lesson. The Quiet Fleet decloaked. 1,000 ships materialized around the Telonian formation, so close that some were within meters of Telonian hulls. Every Telonian vessel was surrounded, trapped, outgunned. This is Admiral Park of the Solar Defense Fleet. You have fired on civilian populations. You have attempted to commit genocide. Under the laws of war, we have the right to destroy you utterly. However, we are not you. We choose mercy. Power down your weapons immediately, or we will power them down for you. Crix on his flagship stared at the displays showing human ships surrounding him. He had brought 500 vessels. The humans had met him with 1,000, and these 1,000 ships were unlike anything he had seen. They flickered with energy. Their weapon systems were charged with power readings that made no sense. Fire, he ordered desperately. Fire everything. The Telonian fleet tried. Their weapons charged, their missiles launched, their energy beams fired. Nothing worked. Every system was jammed, shut down remotely by human electronic warfare. Missiles deactivated mid-flight. Energy weapons failed to discharge. Ships that had pacified planets were rendered helpless by technology they couldn't even detect. Lesson 2, Park said. Disable them completely. The human ships didn't fire. They didn't need to. Beams of energy swept across the Telonian vessels, and one by one every system shut down. Power, propulsion, life support backup systems, everything except basic environmental controls. 500 warships became 500 drifting hulks in less than 3 minutes. Hamilton's voice came through again, now speaking directly to the Telonian crews. This is Speaker Hamilton. Your general has led you into disaster. Your ships are disabled, but you are alive. Your life support will function for 72 hours. In that time, we will transport you to temporary habitats where you will be treated as prisoners of war under the highest standards of care. You will be fed, given medical attention, and allowed to contact your families. When this is over, you will be returned home. On the council station, the representatives watched in stunned silence. The entire battle, if it could be called that, had lasted less than 5 minutes. 500 Telonian warships defeated without a single human casualty, without a single shot fired that destroyed anything. Thelcora felt something she hadn't felt in centuries. Fear. Not fear of humans, fear of what could have happened. If humanity had chosen destruction instead of mercy, 500 ships and 50,000 Telonian crew would be dead. And the humans could have done it easily. Instead, they had chosen to spare them. "Record this moment," she said to her aide. "Record everything. The galaxy needs to understand what just happened here." General Crix sat in a small but comfortable room on Habitat Station Delta 9. Through the window, he could see his flagship floating dead in space along with the rest of his fleet. Around them, human ships maintained watch, silent guardians ensuring no rescue attempt was made. The door opened. Speaker Hamilton entered, followed by Dr. Chen. The old human walked with his cane, moving slowly. He sat down across from Crix with a slight wince. "My knees aren't what they used to be," Hamilton said with a slight smile. "I could get them replaced, but I like having some reminder that I'm old." "Keeps me humble," Crix said nothing. He had expected torture, interrogation, perhaps execution, not conversation with an elderly man complaining about his joints. "You're wondering why you're not dead," Hamilton said. It wasn't a question. "Your entire crew is wondering the same thing. You attacked us. You tried to kill billions of our people. Under any reasonable interpretation of warfare, we would be justified in executing all of you." "Then do it," Crix said bitterly. "Get it over with." "No, because that would make us like you. And we're trying very hard not to be like you." The words stung more than any physical blow could have. Hamilton leaned forward. "General, I want to tell you a story. 200 years ago, when our sun began collapsing, humanity faced extinction. We could have panicked. We could have fought among ourselves for the few ships we had, trying to evacuate the lucky ones while billions died. Some people suggested exactly that, but we didn't. Instead, we came together. Every nation, every group, every individual focused on one goal: survival. We built technology we didn't know was possible. We made sacrifices that seemed unbearable. We lost people, so many people, but we saved more. And when we finally stabilized our sun, when we finally knew we would survive, we made a choice." "What choice?" Crix asked despite himself. "We chose to be better. We had developed weapons during the crisis, terrible weapons born from desperation. We could have become conquerors, spreading through the galaxy with force. Instead, we became gardeners. We built homes, not fortresses. We created art, not armies. We had children and taught them that strength exists to protect, not to oppress." "Pretty words," Crix muttered. "But you still have those weapons. You still have that strength." "You're still dangerous?" "Yes," Hamilton agreed simply. "We are very dangerous, because we remember how to fight and we haven't forgotten how to build weapons. But here's what you don't understand, General. Being capable of violence and choosing not to commit it. That's what civilization means. Anyone can kill. A child with a gun can kill. True strength is having the power to destroy and choosing to create instead." "You're naive," Crix said. "You think your mercy makes you strong. It makes you weak. Eventually, some species will exploit that weakness and destroy you." "Maybe," Hamilton said. "But I don't think so. Because we're not offering mercy from weakness. We're offering it from strength. You attacked us with 500 ships. We defeated you in 5 minutes without killing anyone. That's not weakness, General. That's restraint. And restraint is the hardest form of strength there is." Dr. Chen spoke for the first time. "General Crix, do you know how many times the Solar Congress voted on whether to destroy your fleet?" "No, 17 times. Over the course of 47 minutes while your ships approached. Each time the vote got closer. By the final vote, 8,547 representatives voted to fire. Only 2 voted to wait. Speaker Hamilton had the deciding vote." Hamilton nodded slowly. "It was the hardest decision I've ever made. I knew that if I chose wrong, if I waited and your weapons somehow got through our defenses, billions of my people could die. Children, families, people I've known for decades, all dead because I chose mercy over security." "Then why did you?" Crix demanded. "Why risk everything?" "Because of the 8-year-old girl I saw in a park yesterday. She was playing with her friends, completely unaware that a fleet was coming to kill her. She was laughing, General, pure and innocent and happy. And I thought, what kind of universe do I want her to grow up in? One where we kill our enemies before they can threaten us? Or one where we really try to make peace? I chose peace, even knowing the risk, even knowing it might get people killed, because the alternative is becoming exactly what we're afraid of. The room was silent for a long moment. Your people will call you weak, Crix finally said. Some will, Hamilton agreed. Some already do. But most understand. Most know that we had to try. We had to give you every chance to choose differently. And now? What happens now? Now we talk. The Galactic Council is convening an emergency session. They're debating what to do about the Telonian Empire's unprovoked attack on a council member. Your government is already distancing itself from you, claiming you acted without authorization. Crix laughed bitterly. Of course they are. They'll sacrifice me to save themselves. Probably, Chen said. But we're not interested in punishing the Telonian people for the actions of their government. We're going to release your crew, all of them. We'll repair your ships and return them to Telonian space. You're insane, Crix said flatly. You're just going to give us back our weapons? Yes, because we want you to go home and tell your people what happened here. We want them to know that humanity could have destroyed you and chose not to. We want them to understand that we're not the threat you think we are. They won't believe it. They'll say you're weak, that you missed your chance to eliminate us. Let them think that if they want, Hamilton said. But you'll know the truth. And so will your crews. 50,000 Telonians will go home knowing that humanity showed them mercy when they deserved none. That story will spread. And maybe, just maybe, it will change some minds. 3 days later, the Galactic Council reconvened. The entire galaxy was watching. The Telonian fleet had been returned, fully repaired. General Crix was still in human custody, but his crew were all safely back in Telonian space, telling everyone who would listen about their treatment. The stories were remarkable. The humans had not only kept them alive but treated them well. Medical care, good food, entertainment, even communication with their families. One crew member reported that when his wife went into labor back on Telonia, the humans arranged a real-time video link so he could be there for his daughter's birth. It was difficult to paint humans as monsters when they helped enemy soldiers become fathers. Ambassador Telcora stood before the council. We face a unique moment in galactic history. A new species has emerged with technology and capabilities that surpass most of our own. They could have remained hidden, expanding in secret until they were unstoppable. Instead, they reached out in friendship. They could have destroyed the Telonian fleet that attacked them. Instead, they disabled those ships and returned them undamaged. They could have executed General Crix as a war criminal. Instead, they're offering to return him to Telonian custody for trial by his own people. The question before us is simple. What kind of galaxy do we want to live in? One where new species are feared and attacked? Or one where they are welcomed and integrated? The Calvex representative, who had voted against humanity before, pulsed with blue light. Ambassador, I must admit I was wrong. I thought humanity was dangerous. I was right, but not in the way I feared. They are dangerous because they're better than us. They have power we can't match and wisdom we should envy. Other species spoke, some with praise, some with continued suspicion, but the tone had shifted. The Telonian attack had clarified things. Humanity wasn't just technologically advanced. They were morally evolved. Finally, a new vote was called. Should humanity remain a council member? This time, the result was unanimous. 47 green lights appeared above the representatives. Even the Telonian representative, a replacement for Crix, voted yes. Then it is done, Telcora announced. Humanity is not only accepted as a council member but welcomed as an equal and valued partner. Speaker Hamilton, would you like to address the council? Hamilton stood slowly, leaning on his cane. He looked at the assembled representatives, beings from dozens of worlds, hundreds of cultures. Thank you, he said simply. 200 years ago, humanity faced extinction. We survived through cooperation, innovation, and hope. Today, you're giving us something we've wanted since we first looked at the stars. You're giving us a family, a community of species working together for the common good. We don't come to you as conquerors or supplicants. We come as partners. We will share our technology freely. We will trade our resources fairly. We will defend council space as if it were our own. And we will continue to be what we've always tried to be. Builders, not destroyers. Creators, not conquerors. We are humanity, and we are honored to stand beside you. The council chamber erupted in applause, real, genuine applause, the kind that came from relief and hope and the promise of a better future. General Crix watched the ceremony from his comfortable prison. He saw the acceptance, the celebration, the unity, and for the first time he wondered if maybe he had been wrong all along. A week later, Crix was returned to Telonian space for trial. The humans had provided complete documentation of his actions, along with evidence that he had acted against direct orders from his government. The trial was swift. He was found guilty of unauthorized military action and stripped of rank. But he was not executed. The Telonian people, influenced by the stories their crew members told, showed him the same mercy humanity had shown. He spent his remaining years in quiet retirement, teaching military history at an academy. He always included a lecture about the Sol incident, as it came to be known. He told his students about the day he attacked humanity with 500 ships and was defeated without a shot being fired. The lesson, he would say, is not that humans are powerful, it's that they're wise. They knew that killing us would make them our enemy forever. Sparing us made some of us their friends. That's strategy that no weapon can match. 5 years passed. Humanity's provisional membership became permanent. During that time, incredible changes swept through council space. Human technology began spreading. Medical advances that extended lifespans across all species. Energy solutions that made scarcity obsolete for many worlds. Educational systems that raised the average quality of life throughout the galaxy, but it wasn't one way. Humans learned too. They incorporated Vraxian philosophy into their culture. They adopted Calvec's artistic techniques. They studied Telonian strategic thinking and improved it. The first joint colony was established. Humans and Vraxians together, building a new world on the edge of known space. It was called Hope Station, and it became a symbol of what the galaxy could be. On the 10th anniversary of humanity joining the Council, a massive celebration was held at Forum Station. Representatives from every Council species attended. There was music, food, art, and joy. Speaker Hamilton, now 183 years old, sat in a quiet corner of the park where he had once fed pigeons. Dr. Chen found him there, now middle-aged herself. "You should be at the celebration," she said. "I was. It's wonderful, but I'm old and tired and I wanted a moment of quiet." He smiled. "Did we do it, Sarah? Did we actually achieve what we hoped for?" "We did. Humanity is part of the galactic community. We're safe, we're valued, and we're happy. You did it, Hamilton. Not me. All of us. Every human who chose peace over war. Every person who built instead of destroyed. We all did it together." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. "What do you think comes next?" Chen asked. "More of the same, I hope. More building, more learning, more growing. We've got a whole galaxy to explore after all, and now we don't have to do it alone." 20 years later, the first human-led exploration mission departed Council space. The ship was called the Perseverance, and its crew was mixed. Humans, Vraxians, Calvex, even 2 Telonians. They were heading beyond known space, seeking new worlds and new civilizations. Captain Maria Okonkwo, human, stood on the bridge and looked at her diverse crew. "Ready for the unknown?" she asked. "Always," replied her first officer, a Vraxian named Theltora. She was Ambassador Thelcora's granddaughter, and she had grown up on stories of humanity's first contact. The Perseverance jumped into the unknown. Behind them, the galaxy continued its work. Species cooperated, traded, learned, and grew. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts, still disagreements, still problems to solve. But they solved them together now. That was the difference. On Earth, now a nature preserve and monument, a single structure stood in the rebuilt city of New York. It was a memorial to the collapse crisis, honoring the millions who had died and the billions who had survived. On the memorial's base, a plaque bore words in every known galactic language. Here stood humanity, facing extinction. Here we chose to live. Here we chose to hope. Here we chose to be better. And when we reached the stars, we made the same choice again. This monument stands not to remember death, but to celebrate the choice to live, to grow, and to share our light with the universe. And in the depths of space, in the hidden places between stars, a few human ships still kept watch. The quiet fleet, always vigilant, always ready, not because humanity expected war, but because they remembered what it cost to survive. On the bridge of one such ship, the AI updated its log for the 10,000th time. All quiet, all peaceful. The galaxy grows together. Our weapons remain ready but silent. Our shields remain strong but untested. We watch not because we seek threats, but because we remember when there were threats. And we remember the promise we made. Humanity will never again face extinction, nor will we allow it to happen to others. We are the guardians, we are the watchers. We are humanity's memory of darkness, standing guard so others may walk in light. And we remain ready, always ready. Because that's what peace looks like when you remember what war costs. Far across the galaxy, in a small colony on the edge of known space, a human child looked up at the stars and asked her Vraxian teacher a question. Teacher Thelcor, why do humans always say we remain ready when talking about peace? The Vraxian, old enough to remember the Sol incident, clicked thoughtfully. Because, young one, humans learned something important long ago. Peace is not the absence of weapons. Peace is the choice not to use them. Humans remain ready for war so they can choose peace. Every day, every moment, they make that choice. That's why we trust them. That's why they're our friends. Will we always be friends? The child asked. I don't know, the Vraxian admitted. The future is always uncertain, but I know this. Humans will always give us the choice to be friends. They'll never force it. They'll never demand it. They'll just offer their hand and wait. That's what makes them special. The child looked back at the stars, thinking about this. I want to be like that, she said finally. Strong enough to fight, but wise enough to not want to. Then you already understand what took the rest of the galaxy 200 years to learn, the teacher said with pride. You understand humanity's greatest lesson. Power exists to protect, not to oppress. Strength serves others, not yourself. And the greatest victory is the fight you never have to have because you gave everyone a better choice. The stars shone down on them, on the colony, on the countless worlds where countless species lived and worked and dreamed together. And somewhere, in the Sol system, on a habitat overlooking Earth, Speaker Hamilton's successor, a young woman named Amara Osei, looked at reports from across the galaxy. Trade flourishing, colonies growing, scientific cooperation producing miracles, peace holding. She smiled and made a note in her log. Day 3742 of the Great Peace. All quiet, all safe, all hopeful. Humanity chose well, and the galaxy chose with us. Tomorrow we choose again, and we will choose peace, again and again and again, for as long as we exist, because that's who we are, that's who we've always been, that's who we will always be. We are humanity. We survived the darkness, we chose the light, and we will spend eternity helping others make the same choice. This is what it means to reach the stars. Not with weapons, but with open hands. Not with threats, but with hope. Not with fear, but with love. We are humanity, and we remain ready. Ready for friendship, ready for cooperation, ready for peace. Always ready. And across the galaxy, billions of voices, human and alien, agreed.